Cyclone Bualoi has left behind heartbreaking destruction across southern China and beyond. In Guangxi province, entire neighborhoods are underwater. Cars, homes, and streets vanished beneath the floods. September 29, 2025, will be remembered as the day Typhoon Bualoi unleashed its full force. Torrential downpours buried villages in Guangxi, while in neighboring Yunnan province, landslides swallowed homes and forced families to flee. The storm didn't stop at China's borders. In Vietnam, Bualoi claimed dozens of lives, flattened thousands of homes, and caused massive financial losses. What made this disaster even worse was its timing. Just as parts of China were still trying to recover from Super Typhoon Regasa, another deadly storm rolled in. Bualoi struck suddenly, with rain crashing down like walls of water and winds so fierce they ripped through communities as if the sky itself had torn open. The impact was devastating. Entire towns disappeared beneath muddy floodwaters. Roofs, power poles, and vehicles were tossed aside like toys. Families scrambled to higher ground, clinging to whatever safety they could find. Some areas recorded nearly 8 inches of rainfall in just 24 hours. In the mountainous districts of Yunnan, repeated landslides buried entire homes. Thousands were forced to evacuate overnight as villages turned into seas of mud. Rescue teams faced near-impossible conditions, battling heavy rain, blocked roads, and unstable terrain while desperate cries for help echoed through the storm. In Guangxi, raging floodwaters poured down from the mountains, transforming quiet riverside towns into giant lakes. Concrete highways became raging rivers. Entire cars and buses were carried away in the current. The storm's fury left behind scenes of destruction that many survivors say they will never forget. The nightmare wasn't over yet. By sunrise on September 29th, China's National Weather Service issued a double warning, a yellow alert for typhoon conditions and a red alert for extreme rainfall. From Guangdong all the way down to Hainan Island, across Guangxi and into Yunnan, heavy downpours continued through the night of September 28th. Some areas recorded nearly 11 inches of rain in just one day, enough to swallow entire villages and farmland underwater. On Hainan Island, in places like Zhanjiang, Sanya, and Wanning, winds roared at hurricane strength. Trees were ripped out of the ground, and anchored ships broke loose, drifting helplessly. News footage showed highways underwater, checkpoints buried in mudslides, and emergency crews struggling to move people through fast-moving floodwaters. Across the border in Vietnam, the same storm, known locally as Storm Number 10, left behind equally brutal destruction. In Nha Anh and Ha Tinh provinces, homes crumbled, cars were crushed, and power was cut to entire regions. When residents emerged after the storm, they faced shocking devastation. Vehicles flattened by collapsed rooftops, bricks scattered across the streets, and entire neighborhoods transformed into rivers. Even large seaside hotels in Kuala Lumpur suffered major damage. Windows blown out, walls ripped away, and whole rooms left open to the sky. In Thanh Hoa province, tragedy struck when Nguyen Ngoc Hung, the local party secretary, was killed by a falling tree while heading out for storm duty. That same day, a family of 4 trapped under their collapsed home in Hong Phu commune was pulled out alive after hours of desperate rescue efforts. Meanwhile, in Ninh Binh province, a violent tornado spun through while the typhoon was still active. 6 people lost their lives, 7 more were injured, and dozens of homes were either flattened or stripped of their roofs. A school building was torn apart, its furniture scattered across the yard. In the aftermath, the sound of mourning mixed with the howling wind, leaving the countryside in a state of heartbreak and devastation. The nightmare wasn't over yet. By the early hours of September 29th, China's Weather Bureau sounded the alarm, issuing a yellow alert for typhoon conditions and a red alert for dangerous rainfall. From Guangdong all the way to Hainan Island, stretching through Guangxi and into Yunnan, the skies opened up. Heavy rain pounded the region through the night of September 28th. In some places, nearly 11 inches fell in a single day, enough to drown farmland, wash away entire neighborhoods, and submerge villages. On Hainan Island, in cities like Zhangjiang, Sanya, and Wanning, hurricane-force winds tore across the coastline. Trees were uprooted, ships slipped their anchors and drifted into the chaos, and highways disappeared beneath floodwaters. Mudslides buried checkpoints, while rescue teams battled raging currents to reach stranded residents. Just across the border in Vietnam, the same storm, they're called Storm Number 10, brought equal devastation. In Nha and Ha Tinh provinces, homes collapsed, vehicles were destroyed, and massive power outages left entire communities in the dark. When survivors stepped outside after the storm, they were met with scenes of destruction. Streets were filled with rubble, cars crushed under debris, and neighborhoods turned into rivers. Even luxury seaside hotels in Kuala Lumpur were torn apart, windows blown out, walls ripped open, and whole rooms exposed to the sky. In Thanh Hoa province, tragedy hit hard. Nguyen Ngoc Hung, the local party secretary, lost his life when a tree struck him as he prepared for storm duty. That same day, a family of 4 buried beneath their collapsed home was miraculously rescued after hours of digging and desperate effort. And in Ninh Binh province, while the typhoon still raged, a violent tornado tore through. 6 people were killed, 7 were badly hurt, and dozens of houses were ripped down to their frames. A school was shredded apart, its desks and chairs scattered across the yard like toys. In the aftermath, the silence was broken only by cries of grief carried on the wind. A once bustling countryside was left in ruins, marked by loss, heartbreak, and destruction. In several regions, loudspeakers echoed non-stop, warning people to leave their homes and move to safer ground, as heavy rain poured without pause. Typhoon Bualoi is now marked as one of the most devastating storms of the fall of 2025. It didn't just rip off rooftops, topple power lines, or wash away villages. It left behind something far deeper, the chilling reminder that nature's power is becoming harder to predict. A storm may pass in hours, but the scars it leaves can last for years. Both China and Vietnam are still facing the storm's aftermath, where relentless rain, fierce winds, and rising floodwaters continue to cause chaos. In Guangxi, entire neighborhoods were submerged, with cars and homes buried under water and debris. Stay tuned to watch the full coverage in our latest video.